Hello viewers and my students, welcome to my channel. In this video, I am going to explain 30 important MCQs from the famous poem of John Keats, Ode to a Nightingale. This is set 5. To watch the other sets, that is set 1, 2, 3, 4, and the text and annotation of the poem, follow the links given below in the description or press the I button. So, let's begin. Number 121. In the previous sets, up to 120 MCQs are explained. So, this set begins from 121. Ode to a Nightingale ends with, the options are confusion, optimism, pessimism, escapism. We know Ode to a Nightingale is apparently a poem of escapism, and in this poem Keats wants to escape from this world to the world of the nightingale, and ultimately he becomes successful, and through the viewless wings of poesy or poetic imagination, Keats is transported to the world of the nightingale. But in the 8th stanza or the last stanza, the poet is in a flurry of confusion, and with the word forlorn, the poet is reminded of the reality, and this word forlorn is like a bell to him, because he is reminded of the world of the weariness, the fever and the fret, and ultimately he is in a confusion, and that's why he asks the questions, was it a vision or a waking dream? Fret is that music, do I wake or sleep? So the poet is in a flurry of confusion. So the poem ends obviously with confusion. So the right option is A, confusion. Next, 122. In the second stanza of Ode to a Nightingale, Keats speaks of, the options are hemlock, wine, poetic imagination, opium. We know that the second stanza of Ode to a Nightingale is full of sensuous description, and here Keats describes wine in details, that is the special quality of wine he longed for. And in this context, he alludes Flora, the Roman goddess of flower, and also Hippocrene. So, in the second stanza, Keats speaks of obviously wine, not hemlock or poetic imagination or opium, because hemlock and opium are mentioned in the opening stanza, and poetic imagination is mentioned in the 4th stanza. So the right option is B, wine. Next, 123. Oh, for a beaker full of the warm south. Here south means southern portion of, the options are England, Italy, France, Ireland. Warm south here refers to the southern portion of France, that is province, and province we know is famous for wine because it's a wine producing area. So the right option is C, southern France. And rhetorically this line is an example of metonymy. Why metonymy? Because here warm south stands for wine produced in the southern France. So place for its production equal to metonymy. So the right option is C, France. Next, 124. Ode to a Nightingale contains dash lines. The options are 86, 90, 100, 80. We know that Ode to a Nightingale has 8 stanzas, and each stanza contains 10 lines. So total 80 lines, and all the lines are written in iambic pentameter except the 8th line or line number 8, because line number 8 is in iambic trimeter. So the poem contains obviously 80 lines. So the right option is D, 80. Next, 125. The medium which ultimately proved fruitful for Keats was, the options are poetic imagination, wine, opium, hemlock. Keats mentions hemlock, opium and wine. But ultimately, in the fourth stanza, he bids goodbye to wine through the line, away, away, for I will fly to thee, not charioted by Bacchus and his parts. And the medium which ultimately proved fruitful for kids, it was obviously the viewless wings of poesy, that is, poetic imagination, because poetic imagination proves strong enough to transport the poet to the world of the nightingale, and with the help of poetic imagination, the poet is transported to the world of the nightingale, that is the dim forest. So the right option is A, poetic imagination. Next, 126, the blushful hypocrite. Here we find an allusion of, the options are Greek mythology, the Bible, Roman history, medieval romances. Blushful hypocrite. Hypocrite we know, according to Greek or classical mythology, Hippocrene is the name of a fountain on Mount Helicon, the haunt of the Muses. It is said to have been produced by the blow of the hoof of Pegasus, the winged horse of the sun god. And the water of this fountain, that is Hippocrene, gives poetic inspiration to those who drink them. Hence, here we find obviously the reference of Greek or classical mythology. So the right option is A, Greek mythology. Next, 127, and haply the queen moon is on her throne. Here the term haply means, the options are perhaps, happily, heavily, highly. This line is from the fourth stanza, and here the poet is transported to the world of the nightingale with the help of poetic imagination. And after reaching the world of the nightingale, the poet makes this remark and he says, and haply the queen moon is on her throne, clustered around by all her starry face. That is, the term here, haply means obviously perhaps. Why perhaps? Because the poet can't see the moon from the shady beechen grove of the nightingale, because the world of the nightingale is the dim forest. So, due to the shadows or the shady grove, the poet can't see the moon properly. So, he uses the term haply or perhaps. So, the right option is A, perhaps. Next, 128, full of the true, the blushful hypocrite. Here we find the options are bathos, metaphor, epigram, innuendo. Bathos we know, anticlimax. That is, in a line, a series of words or ideas is arranged in a descending order of importance so that the least important one comes last. For example, he lost his father, his servant, and his shoes. And again, puffs, powders, patches, Bibles, and billet dogs. Then metaphor we know, in a metaphor, an implied comparison is made between two different things or objects or ideas. For example, the camel is the sheep of the desert. Next, epigram we know, in an epigram, there is a shocking contradiction in the apparent meaning of the language used, but there is an inner significance. For example, the child is the father of man. Our antagonists are our helpers. Then innuendo, in an innuendo, something is hinted instead of being plainly stated. The purpose is to damage someone's reputation. For example, he has been treated by 4 doctors, but he is still alive. Again, my friend left my house and my pen was missing. And this line, full of true, the blushful hypocrite, this is an example, obviously, metaphor. Why metaphor? Because here an implied comparison is made. Blushful means the blushing face or cheek of a girl, and the red color of the face or cheek is impliedly compared to the color of wine. So here we find an implied comparison between wine and the red color face of a girl. So rhetorically this is an example of obviously metaphor. So the right option is B, metaphor. Next, 129, forlorn. The very word is like a bell. The word forlorn stands for the poet. The options are imagination, escapism, reality, past. This line is from the last stanza, and here the poet uses the word forlorn, which stands for lonely as well as unhappy. And this very word reminds the poet of the world of the weariness, the fever and the fret, that is the real world, or the world of sufferings and sorrows, or reality. Because the poet can't stay in the world of the nightingale permanently. He has to return to the world of reality. So the word forlorn stands for the poet, obviously reality. So the right option is C, reality. Next, 130, the blushful hypocrite. Hypocrite is on Mount. The options are Abora, Onion, Kithaeron, Helicon. We know that according to Greek mythology, Hippocrene is the name of a fountain on Mount Helicon, and it is said that this fountain was created by the hoof of Pegasus, the winged horse of the sun god. So, Hippocrene is on obviously Mount Helicon. So, the right option is D, Helicon. And here we find obviously the reference of Greek mythology. Next, 131, Keats was buried in. The options are France, Italy, England, Ireland. We know that Keats went to Italy with his faithful friend Joseph Severn in 1820 at the suggestion of his doctor, because he had some problem of his lungs, because Keats had been suffering from tuberculosis. And in 1820 he went to Italy to get rid of the winter of England, but there he died on 23rd February 1821, and Keats was buried in Italy. So the right option is B, Italy, because Keats was buried in Italy. Next, 132, in the last stanza, Keats bids adieu to. The options are wine, imagination, the real world, hemlock. We know that Keats was transported to the world of the nightingale with the help of viewless wings of poesy or poetic imagination, but he could not stay longer in the world of imagination, that is the world of the nightingale, and with the word forlorn ringing in his ear, he had to return to the world of reality, and ultimately he bids adieu to obviously imagination or fancy, because he says, adieu, the fancy cannot cheat so well as she is famed to do, deceiving elf. Adieu, adieu, the plaintive anthem fades. So Keats bids adieu to obviously imagination or fancy. So the right option is B, imagination. Next, 133, Bacchus and his parts. Here we find a reference of the famous oil painting Bacchus and Ariadne, painted by, the options are Titian, Blake, Michelangelo, Titan. Bacchus and his parts, this is found in the fourth stanza, and here Keats says, away, away, for I will fly to thee not charioted by Bacchus and his parts. So Bacchus and his parts represent wine, and here Keats alludes the famous oil painting Bacchus and Ariadne, which is preserved in the National Gallery, London, and this painting was painted by the famous artist or famous painter Titian. So the right option is A, Titian. Next, 134, Tasting of Flora. Here we find dash allusion, and Flora, Keats refers to Flora in the second stanza while describing wine, because he wishes the wine having association of Flora, and in this context he says, "Oh, for a draught of vintage that had been cooled a long age in the deep delve earth, tasting of Flora and the country green." And Flora, we know, is the Roman goddess of flower. So here we find obviously Roman allusion. So the right option is B, Roman, because Flora is the Roman goddess of flower. Next, 135. Ruth migrated to Judah after the death of her. The options are mother, brother, husband, father. We know that Keats mentions Ruth in the 7th stanza while describing the Song of the Nightingale. And Ruth, we know, is the principal character of the book of Ruth of the Old Testament, the Bible. And Ruth, we know, was a Moabite married to a Jew in Moab. After the death of her husband, she migrated with her mother-in-law Naomi to Judah in Palestine. So, Ruth migrated with her mother-in-law to Judah after the death of her husband. So the right option is C, husband. And in this line we find a biblical allusion, because Ruth is a biblical character found in the Old Testament, that is the book of Ruth. Next, 136. Keats went to Italy in. The options are 1818, 1819, 1821, 1820. We know that Keats had been suffering from tuberculosis or consumption, and the doctor advised him to avoid the winter of England because another winter would be fatal for him. So he went to Italy under the care of his faithful friend Joseph Severn, and the year was 1820, and he died in Italy in 1821. So the right option is D, 1820, because Keats went to Italy in 1820. Next, 137. Keats compares fancy to a or an. The options are young boy, bird, elf, angel. In the last stanza, Keats says, "Adieu, the fancy cannot cheat so well as she is famed to do, deceiving elf." So obviously Keats compares fancy or imagination to an elf or fairy. So the right option is C, elf, fairy. Next, 138. Sunburnt mirth. Here Keats describes the mirth of the people of. The options are Russia, Yorkshire, province, Rome. And this term, sunburn mirth, this is a part of a line in the 2nd stanza, and here Keats says, "Tasting of Flora and the country green, dance and provincial song and sunburnt mirth." So here Keats describes the mirth or enjoyment or merrymaking of the people of the sunburned countries like province. So the right option is C, province. And this term sunburned mirth, rhetorically this is an example of hyperbole or transferred epithet, because here the epithet or adjective sunburnt is transferred from person or people to mirth. Next, 139. Not charioted by Bacchus and his parts. Here we find dash allusion. The options are classical, biblical, historical, oriental. We know Bacchus is the god of wine according to Greek or classical mythology. So the right option is A, classical, because Bacchus is the god of wine, and he is represented as on a chariot drawn by leopards. So the right option is A, classical. Next, 140. Here lies one whose name was written in water. This epitaph was suggested by. The options are Shelley, Keats, Hunt, Hazlitt. Actually, this is the epitaph of the tombstone of John Keats, and this line was suggested by Keats himself, and he came across this line in a play named Philoster by Beaumont and Fletcher. So the right option is B, Keats, because this line was suggested by the poet Keats himself. Next, 141. As she is famed to do. Here the poet speaks of. The options are wine, nightingale, fancy, mask rose. This line is from the last stanza, and here Keats says, adieu, the fancy cannot cheat so well as she is famed to do, deceiving elf. So the poet here speaks of obviously fancy or imagination, and he compares fancy or imagination to an elf. That is why he uses the term deceiving elf. So the right option is C, fancy. Next, 142. Keats presents a or an dash picture of Ruth. Fill in the blank. The options are dismal, realistic, ideal, romantic. We know that Ruth is the principal character of the book of Ruth of the Old Testament in the Bible. And in Ode to a Nightingale, Keats mentions Ruth, and he obviously presents a romantic picture of Ruth, because Ruth is here presented as standing in a cornfield in a foreign land with tears in her eyes. Her homesick heart is soothed or comforted by the song of the nightingale. So the picture presented is obviously romantic. So the right option is D, because Keats presents a romantic picture of Ruth. Next, 143. In Ode to a Nightingale, Keats longs for a beaker full of. The options are hemlock, opium, blushful hippocrene wine. And this question was selected in WB SLST 2016 at 9-10 level. Keats describes wine in the second stanza. Here he says, oh, for a beaker full of the warm south. And warm south means obviously the wine produced in southern France, that is place for its production. So rhetorically, this is an example of metonymy. So the right option is D, wine. Next, 144. The queen moon is on her throne. Here Keats alludes. The options are Flora, Venus, Leda, Diana. This line is from the fourth stanza, and here Keats says, and happily the queen moon is on her throne, clustered around by all her starry face. Here Keats uses a splendid imagery. The moon is imagined as a queen, and the stars surrounding the moon are imagined or compared to her attendants, that is the attendants of the moon. That is why Keats uses the term starry face. Face means attendants. And by the term queen moon, here Keats obviously alludes the moon goddess, that is Diana, because Diana is the moon goddess. So here Keats alludes obviously Diana. So the right option is D. Next, 145. In Ode to a Nightingale, Mid-May's eldest child refers to. The options are violets, hawthorn, eglantine, mask rose. And this question was selected in 2016 in WBSLST at 11-12 level. We know that in the fifth stanza, Keats mentions various kinds of flowers like white hawthorn, pastoral eglantine, fast fading violets, and mask rose. And here he uses various rhetorical devices also. In this context, he uses the term eldest child, and eldest child is obviously mask rose, because Keats says, and mid-May's eldest child, the coming musk rose, full of dewy wine. So the eldest child refers to obviously musk rose. So the right option is D. And here by the term eldest child, Keats uses personification because here the flower musk rose is personified as a child. So here we find personification. Next, 146. Through verdurous glooms, here the implied color is, the options are yellow, green, golden, violet. Actually, the term verdurous glooms, it refers to the darkness caused by the verdant or green leaves of trees. So the color implied is obviously green because verdurous glooms refers to the darkness caused by green leaves of trees. So the right option is B, green. Next, 147. And purple stained mouth. Here we find the options are illusion, escapism, sensuousness, realism. And the term purple stained mouth, and here we can visualize the color of wine stained on the mouth. So here we find obviously sensuousness. So the right option is C. And we know that Keats is noted for sensuousness. Regarding the predominance of Keats's sensuousness, Matthew Arnold says, Keats was abundantly and enchantingly sensuous. So the right option is C, sensuousness. Next, 148. Clustered around by all her starry face, the stars are imagined as the attendants of. The options are water, forest, sky, the moon. This line is from the fourth stanza, and here Keats says, and haply the queen moon is on her throne, clustered around by all her starry face. So the stars are imagined as the face or attendants of obviously the queen moon. So the right option is D, the moon, because here the moon is imagined as the queen and the stars are compared to the attendants or phase of the moon. So the right option is D, the moon. Next, 149. Now 'tis buried deep. Here buried deep means the options are inaudible, buried underground, died, lost. This line is from the last stanza, and ultimately the song of the nightingale gradually fades or disappears. That's why Keats says, adieu, adieu, thy plaintive anthem fades past the near meadows, over the still stream, up the hillside, and now 'tis buried deep. So here buried deep means obviously inaudible, because the poet could no longer hear the song of the nightingale because it was inaudible. So the right option is A, inaudible. Next, 150, last one. That had been cooled a long dash. Fill in the blank. This line is from the second stanza, and we know in the second stanza Keats describes wine, that is the special quality of wine he longs for. And in this context he says, oh, for a draught of vintage that had been cooled a long age in the deep delve earth. So that has been cooled a long, obviously, age. So the right option is age, not time, year or decade. So the right option is A, age that has been cooled a long age. So completed all the questions.